Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to share with you a little thought, a realization of sorts that I've recently come to while playing Dungeons and Dragons. Our most recent D&D session was actually last night. We played a couple of hours yesterday evening, but this revelation really hit me last Saturday during a 6-hour story campaign marathon that we were undertaking, and it's all about passive play, or I suppose attempting to be a passive presence in a tabletop RPG communal storytelling experience such as Dungeons and Dragons, and whether or not that's advisable or even possible to achieve. We're coming towards the end of a huge, sprawling, epic campaign which has been masterfully orchestrated, really, by our dungeon master. It's elegant and intricate and had little character story driven moments from each of our characters' histories, and it all kind of has come together to weave a cloth that in turn has become a tapestry that is truly Byzantine in scope. And we are approaching what seems to be the end game, quite appropriately really, in the month that Avengers Endgame is to be released. But in a nutshell, we are in the human city of Procampa, which sits above the dwarven city, the abandoned dwarven city of Proscampula, and that city is about to see what can only be described as an Armageddon scenario unfold, where demons, who are a chaotic evil presence, will be fighting devils, who are a lawful evil presence, who hate each other, and out of that chaos may rise an even worse reality for the world. Now, we've been aware of this for a little while. We've been trying to avoid this for the better part of 2 years now in our campaign, and we may have actually have done more to help it happen than not. Especially last Saturday. You see, last Saturday we were attempting to draw together all of the key clerics and bishops, senior priest types of the different gods in the city at a council to ascertain how it is we can promote spiritual unity, so that any attempt to bring about some sort of chaotic battle that would destroy the world eventually, maybe, but certainly destroy the city, would be less certain if everyone had a united front. If everyone was there, knew that this was about to happen and was working together, that we might be able to avoid it. And during that meeting, we were present. So our party was present as advisors to one of our members, who has become now a senior cleric, a paladin for Torm, and we completely ballsed it up. We completely messed up the meeting. Yeah. There was a the hierarch, Linsden, a senior warrior cleric for the city, for the god of Helm, present at the meeting, and he is convinced that we are essentially the chaotic element. I'm the only dwarf in the city. One of our friends is a tiefling warlock. There's a halfling thief amongst us. And in a human city, we all look a bit suspicious. And so he's had his eye on us for a long time, and as far as he's concerned, we are the problem. And we were presenting him with all this evidence, well, anecdotal evidence, that he's being manipulated. He thinks he's getting visions from his god, when really he's probably not. The various murders and things that have happened in the city really aren't our fault, but he doesn't believe that. And the more that we tried to convince him, the more we actually pushed him towards radicalization. And he ended up leaving the meeting in a storm. He was tremendously angry, actually much to the entertainment of the Storm Lord, the representative of Talos, the Storm God. He stormed out and was determined to protect the city essentially by bringing us and our friends, including the Telosians, the people who follow Telos, to justice. Basically, a battle was about to unfold. Now, that was bad enough, but right at the end of that meeting, coinciding with it almost perfectly, was the arrival of a dwarven golem, a mechanical construct, a giant robot essentially, that we'd bumped into on a road trip outside the city. This guy was just stood by the road, was missing an arm, and when we came across a golem's arm in the dwarven city on another little adventure, we thought, well, let's reunite the two. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? And this was not part of the story. The DM has confirmed that this was just timing. He figured out how long it would take the golem to walk to the city, and figured out that it would arrive on this particular evening, and that evening's happened to coincide with this meeting going terribly wrong. And so me, as the only dwarf in the city, looked incredibly guilty as a dwarven construct started bashing the castle keep down, started trying to get into the basement, the undercroft, the dungeons of the castle, to uncover what seems to be a human plot to murder all the dwarves in the city. The city is abandoned because seemingly a plague was unleashed, and that's what the golem has been tasked with, is uncovering that injustice. But at a terrible time. So we're hearing this bang, bang, bang. We run outside, and the hierarch of Helm, Hierarch Linsden, screams at me as a dwarf. He says, you have done this, I knew it all along. And I was like, no, I haven't done this. Isn't me. Well, we have, but it you see what I mean? It just, and the more I tried to be passive, the less it was going to work. I was hoping that just by being reserved and not jumping to any rash action, that hopefully it would become clear that the golem is entirely unconnected with this meeting, and we are entirely unconnected with all the things that the hierarch thinks are happening in the city, and that hopefully, if I can just get the golem to stop bashing the castle down, we can just have a conversation, have a cup of tea, and it will all just calm down. But no, the hierarch was getting angrier and angrier. He was casting spells. He was beefing, himself up with, dark energy, ready to smite those around him. Well, divine energy, not dark energy, but he was like a bubble ready to. And I saw an opportunity as a pragmatic, bardic dwarf or dwarven bard, who is, neutral in morals, lawful neutral. So I'm pragmatic in that sense, I follow the law because it makes sense. It's an easier ride through the world as I proceed from town to town. I realised that being passive wasn't going to get me anywhere, and that I simply had to deal with this now, because we might not get another chance. So, with the DM whispering in my ear incidentally, kill him, go on, kill him. I decided to do that. I said to the golem, of Froscampula, I am a fellow dwarf, and this man is our enemy. This man is the real threat. Kill him. And the golem asks for confirmation, and I again confirm this, all in Dwarvish, although the only person present who can speak Dwarvish is the hierarch, Linsden himself. So he's like, you traitor! He's spitting venom at me. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry at this point. Yeah, kill him. And he does. The golem turns around, attacks the hierarch, and the DM described this in a heartbreaking way. Towards the end of the battle, because this golem has a hit points out the ass, as they say, 210 I think HP, and Hierarch Linsden, even though he's level 46, he hasn't got the strength to withstand the pummeling this thing is giving him. And towards the end of their battle, he cries out for divine intervention from Helm, which doesn't come. and a single tear comes down his cheek just as the golem punches the hierarch, essentially crumpling him in his armor around the golem's fist, and then sending him flying through the air and landing in a pitiful heap in the courtyard. The golem, of course, being a construct, then just stops, and the clockwork is ticking, the steam is emanating from its hulking body, and I have just killed essentially an archbishop of the city. What? And so then we decide to escape because everything's gone absolutely wrong, utterly pear-shaped. I send the golem down into the dwarven city. We'll meet you there kind of scenario, or I order it down there in Dwarvish, and then we flee. And afterwards, we started just talking about what had just happened, of course, as you do, as we're packing up to go home. And it really hit me during that encounter that first and foremost, even though apparently there was a way in which the meeting could have gone, so that the hierarch wouldn't have become even more entrenched in his ideas. We had just got it wrong. Basically, our approach to try and prove him wrong made him even more convinced that he was right. But also, there was no way that I could just create a neutral status. This was not, in that sense, like a computer game where if you come to the attention of a guard and they get that sort of, that red spot on your map or whatever, or the red aura around their head indicating that they've spotted you, or in Skyrim, the eye opens up because you've been seen and you're no longer hidden. There was no way for me to do something or hide somewhere or get out of that character's bubble of awareness for long enough that they would somehow just melt back into a neutral state. Because this is D&D, because this isn't a computer game, the hierarch remembers everything. The hierarch continues to persistently behave. He has behaviour in that sense. And this was my lesson. You cannot be a passive presence. You can't just go, I'll try that again. I'll just step out of the room. You guys respawn. You reload, and we'll have that conversation again. No, it doesn't happen like that. And of course, I know that. I've been playing D&D for long enough, but it really, really came to a head in that moment when there's nothing I could do. I either let this guy attack us and probably kill us because he's much higher level than all of us, than our party is, or I take the opportunity to use the golem to destroy him. You can't be passive. You are part of the story, but you're also part of that world, which is populated by characters who have memory and behaviour and agendas and opinions, which may be right or wrong, and can be manipulated. And you can't control that manipulation. All you can try and do is do your best to convince them that they're being manipulated. But if they're not gonna be convinced, then tough. You've got to behave as well. And it was a really important lesson. It may sound small, it may sound obvious, but it's a key difference, I think, between when I'm playing, for example, Skyrim, or when I'm playing a Fallout game or something like that, or when I used to play Guild Wars, for example. You could always try again. You could always just reset. You could always somehow just suddenly stop behaving, stop acting in that world, and things would kind of recede to their normal. The guards would go back to their normal patrol, or the person that you just insulted would somehow just forget that you'd been talking to them, and they go hello, and you could go through a different conversation tree almost with them from beginning to end. But that's not what happens in D&D, and it was a really front and center, really visceral little lesson for me, and it was magnificent. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed actually realizing that I could not be a passive presence in this world. It was good. I also actually really enjoyed using the dreadnought that I've recently painted my Space Marines as the golem in the story. I just happened to have taken it along to show our DM, my friend, the paint job that I'd done. But he said, this is perfect. And he went and got a little model castle, and we acted out the scenario using figures on the table. And that's the direction that we're going to be going in the near future. But as much as that was fun, it was also really interesting from a play experience. And so yesterday, when we came to our most recent couple of hours worth of D&D, I was in character, but also I was myself really feeling the weight and the responsibility of my actions, and realizing what I'd done and what that meant. And actually it got even worse, because the one of our party, who is a tiefling warlock, she is in league with Mammon, who is a senior devil. I think he oversees the third ring of hell or something like that in the D&D universe. And he requires a body to occupy to enter this world. Now, of course, we're like, what are you doing? You can't let him enter this world, because we're trying to avoid a battle between demons and devils. But at this point, the demons are already there, and we're thinking we might as well bring the devils in to fight them. But anyway, the point is, the only recently deceased person who seems to be suitable is the Hierarch. So I've essentially murdered an archbishop of a city, a warrior archbishop, and now we're going to hand over his corpse to the D&D equivalent of Satan to use as a vessel in our plane of existence. Yeah. Thing is, I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, I'm looking forward to how this campaign plays out, but I really am looking forward just to getting back to just being in a city and maybe going and looking at the notice board to see what jobs are available. Investigating a haunted tavern. Ooh, spooky. That kind of thing would be great if we can just get back there without causing the end of the world or dying too horribly. That would be wonderful. Anyway, hopefully this has been vaguely interesting or entertaining, and hopefully it kind of makes sense where I'm coming from, as someone who really, I think for the most part, has been playing these sorts of computer games for longer than I have D&D. Just to realise that was very powerful. The fact that I'm interacting with a human being and we're all telling the story together means something fundamentally different to when you're playing something like an RPG on a PC or on a console or whatever. Yeah. As ever, guys, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.